Okay, it says it's live.
Okay. So I actually spent a really long time on this because at first I was focused on just the CSS transition, and then I realized that he kind of wanted us to focus on using CSS transition with JavaScript. So I am totally going to, part of my PowerPoint actually goes into, uh, I was just working on like the code for transition stuff, which I do have a page if you guys want it that I worked on transition stuff. But the main thing is a little bit, the thing I worked on recently is more basic. There's not as much to it because I really did spend a long time before I realized this. So I wanted to talk about using JavaScript to set CSS basics. It's actually a really helpful tool in case your program or app has no access to your cascading style sheet. It allows you just to use JavaScript to make it. So I just pulled the quote off this website because it was really helped me. So just basic CSS rules with JavaScript, not even with the transitions, is first you have to set the style object of an element. So you have to grab the element, which is in this case I have a div called a div in this. I actually pulled this from the site, but you have to grab the element and then you dot style. So you set the style object of an element, and then you set the height or whatever you're wanting to change, and it will change it to 100 px if that's what you're doing. It's this one's something that instead of grabbing ID, you're just setting the whole body. I guess I should. Anyway, you're setting the whole body. So document.body.style.background color set to yellow. So the whole thing will be yellow, and it's all set through JavaScript rather than a cascading style sheet. I do have some code.
Again, we
Yes.
can't see anything.
Oh, I thought I set my whole screen. I'm sorry, guys.
I can see it.
Oh.
I had to click on you to see it. So Sarah, try clicking on her picture.
Can you see it, Silver?
No, I still see nothing.
Well, maybe if I share just a specific, I don't want to share just a specific screen because I'm going to be switching between things back and forth.
Here it is.
You can see it?
Screen.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
we can see your screen.
okay. You can see it?
Yeah, now I see it.
Okay, so this is just the example code I was showing Silver with document.getElementById and then the style and then the element, and that sets that element of that ID to what's in the quotes. Does that make sense?
Okay.
I have some more code to show to actually show this off. But I wanted to give kind of the basics first. Okay. So this is the code I wrote for it. It's a really simple one where I have my script, and I couldn't figure out how to make it a hover. Like everything I found was basically using buttons to make it happen. So like click the button and then it'll like do the effects. So you do a button on click my function to change it, and then when you go into the function, which is right here, in this case, I'll just show you what it looks like. Okay, so this is my little website, and originally it's light blue with a red color. So I actually have that right here, where this doesn't matter because I was just messing with it. Okay, so the document.getElementDiv1 style.color is red, which is this one right here. So hello world, and it grabs this ID and sets it to red. And then I also have the document.body.style. The background color of that style is light blue, so it set this whole thing to light blue. And when I click this, I'm going to be unclicking this button, so my function, and it's going to do the transition. So yeah, so the way to do a transition specifically with it is to go into here, and and this is the Safari one, this style.webkit transition. It's code to set the Safari, and I needed to do the rest of it, but I kind of ran out of time, so I didn't set it all to Safari. Well, no, I did. Okay, never mind. Sorry. Okay, so you have to do WebKit style.webkit transition to set Safari, and just transition to set the general browsers. All twos will actually set everything that's changing in the div to do it with 2 seconds rather than just specific things. The one you're seeing is just the transition because I'm not in Safari, but I don't have a Mac. But so it set the color to change, the color of the font to change in 2 seconds, the background color of the div to change in 5 seconds, and the font size of the div to change in 10 seconds. So, yeah. So there's a little bit of it, like this one going down to 20%, because this is where these are the end of it. So when you click it, this sets the transition time, and then this sets the ending of the transition. So my end will be, the color will end up blue, the background color will end up white, and the font size will end up 20%. Another thing to note is usually so basically with it, it's pretty much the same thing as creating a cascading style sheet in which you set the style of the item you're wanting to set, and then you set the background color, etc., in it. One thing to note, that anything that has a dash in it, you have to take out the background color, for example. You have to take out the dash and set the next letter to capitalization. Otherwise, it won't work at all. Although when you're doing this .style.transition, background color is just the same thing as it would be in the cascading style sheet with the dash. Okay, so anyway, so then it shows the end here. And I actually also set a transition for the body, so the onClick doesn't just change the div, it also changed the body to yellow. And this one is pretty much basically the same thing. I just kind of set it to the second button, which is return it. I set it to just return back to the regular size. So font size returns to 100%, and everything just returns to what it was before. Pretty much in the exact same. And you can just kind of play with it like that and do it whenever you want. So yeah. Does that make sense, guys? That's basically it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I actually played around a little bit this week with changing CSS with JavaScript. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I haven't figured out how to make it hover, but that probably won't really matter for a phone app. But I was kind of curious if anyone has figured that out, other than button clicks to do it. Well, I need to spend more time with it to figure that out, though.
I figured out how to make it hover just with CSS, but not using JavaScript, and then realized on a phone app, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, probably on a phone app is useless.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions?
Nope.
No. Okay. Did we lose Tyler?
What's that?
I think we just lost his face.
Yeah, I just lost my face. My battery's running low.
Hey, Tyler, quick question. Because I've been thinking about it. So, the, scoring and things that would pull from the data, wouldn't that be a database where all the scoring factors are for what we put into the app? Wouldn't that be a database that we could pull from for JSON?
Scoring factors? What do you mean by that?
Well, when they answer the questions, it's gonna give them a score based off of what they've answered, and so it's gonna have to take their answers and then find a score for that and then pull it.
Well, if it's a set formula or a set algorithm, then you don't need to pull from anywhere. You just set it up in your JavaScript to say if it's less than this number, then this equals a 3.
Okay, I'm just trying to think of a way to use JSON.
Yeah, what if we wanted to make it more complicated so that we could use JSON?
So how would we do that?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
what would it take to? I'm trying to use JSON online. So what would it take? Because I mean, I can make questions. They can be multi-tiered. It's like it's not just what you eat, but it's how much you eat and portions and types of food and times of day you eat. I mean, we can make it as complicated as we need to.
But in my experience, JSON is used as like information. It's like it's not like you don't like set up an algorithm in JSON. JSON is like it's an object that just has a key and a value. So it's just you're receiving information, and then you use like arrays and loops and whatnot to loop through and take the information to distribute. You're not like making. It's not like you're complicating it into a JSON. You're just JSON is used to get information, or
could you pull information from another site with it?
Yeah, and that's through an API.
So,
Yeah, basically,
like from another health site or something like that, like
Yeah, so we would have to try to find some free some free API online that can give us some information about like health or what today's recommended food or something crazy that they're just sending out free. We don't have to like sign up and get a token and whatnot. They just serve it out and we just make a call. Then they send us the information in JSON format, and then we just loop through it and then display it with JavaScript.
Then maybe like a health tip of the day or something.
Yeah, so it just takes research on our part to try to find something that'll give it to us for free.
Okay, that would probably be the best, I think, to pull from our site and then just do like that, like health tip of the day or some little thing that's like a changes daily or
Yeah.
Okay.
maybe
Okay.
for this we can find an RSS feed.
Oh, a what? RSS feed?
Yeah.
What's that?
Well, basically it's like well, if you use Twitter, for example, you can have an RSS feed from Twitter that's gonna basically be used on your website, for example, and it just contains actual information. Like generally, it's most recent. So for a tip of the day, an RSS feed might be a good option. If you have like another website that offers this kind of service, you can just use the RSS feed from this website on our app and it's fine.
Okay,
Yeah, we could look into that too.
that'd be a good idea. Thanks, Sawyer. Okay, sorry I interrupted. I just was thinking about it.
No, that's good.
So next, is it going to be Kevin or Sylvain?
Whatever you prefer.
Go for it.
Okay. So let me share my screen if I find. Oh, yeah, it's here. And this stop here. Okay. So my presentation today it's the third presentation on DOM manipulation. So I'm gonna start by showing you the example, probably the best idea, and then I'm gonna explain it. So let's go for it. You can all see my screen. It's okay. It's readable. Just need to make sure. Okay, good. So I went back on the very first example there was, so click the box to proceed. You remember that one, I guess? So when you click the box, it said now, so at first it was just saying that it's been processed. I don't remember exactly, so I changed it. So now when I click the box, I get to change the text on the box. If you click again the box, you have still the alert showing up, but now I also have this button appearing to proceed. When you click on it, page has been processed, and click below to terminate, and when you terminate, you're going back to the first round. So now let's go to the code. So I added this element here that wasn't there on the first thing to have the page content. And so, sorry. So when you load, there's this function that goes on to save when the box has been processed, etc. I didn't change that very much except for this line. I changed so the for these two lines actually. So I changed this. So now when you click on the box, I set the HTML inside the box to be the box has been clicked, and I add the button you could see earlier, so the proceed button, thanks to the by getting my element through its ID, which is, if you can see here, page content. So I'm getting that element and I'm adding a button in it with a function call here when you click on it. So then you click on the proceed button and the proceed function is fired. So this functions first loads content through an AJAX call. As you can see here, the XML HTTP request object is the AJAX call. So I'm calling this content.html page that contains the thing you could see on the screen. So the page has been processed and a new button for terminate. And here you have this terminate function that's getting back to the box, remove the good class to add again the bad class, and changing the content to be the box again. And it's emptying the page content element because we don't need it anymore, so we're just emptying it. And that's the result. So I don't know if you have any other questions, any things I can add. Basically, in terms of DOM manipulation itself, I don't think there's much more things that needs to be taught. So basically, it's just to select the goal of DOM manipulation is just to target a specific element and do stuff with it. So that was pretty much well covered already with the two previous presentations.
No, I think you summed it up nicely, Silver. I was playing with that this week as well, and that's what I kind of noticed. It's fun, and it really is just targeting a specific element and then telling it what to do. So, but like, besides like playing around with things, can you guys give me some good like real life examples of websites where DOM manipulation is better than like CSS or I guess like where it's used pretty commonly?
Wouldn't you use it like in a form?
Sorry, Adam, you're kind of cutting out.
Sorry, I was just asking, wouldn't you use it when you're making a form? So that way, once you submit the form, it switches to a different screen?
Silver, do you know? So like when you hit submit and then it clears the panel out. Is that would that do that?
Maybe, I'm not sure.
What's
I'd
typically
say one typical example of the manipulation is models. Like if you go to my portfolio here, so I have my 9 buttons and each one of them has a model associated. Well, basically I'm using the same model for each one of them, but this model is basically DOM manipulation because it wasn't present and it's appearing.
Okay.
Cool.
You're using it to make that box. Okay.
And it's the same with the close button on the model. When you click close, the model disappears.
Okay. Thank you. That's why I like to see like real life examples and not just, this is fun, I can do this, but like when do we really use it? That's good. All right, any other questions for Silver? Okay, Kevin, I think you're... Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I don't have a question, but I wanted to comment on our project. With the CSS, will we be using just the JavaScript CSS? Is that kind of what it's for, phones? Or apps like that? I kind of assumed since he wanted us to focus on that when it, like on, the website.
I think regular CSS works on phones as well, but there might be something special you want to use JavaScript for.
Yeah, I kind of wondered if he just wanted us to use it, just because, like, when I looked at the grading, where it says, like, everything we're graded on, it's like the CSS is using CSS with JavaScript.
I think we should, as much as possible, like, try coding and things so that we hit all of those topics. So even if it might not be what we normally would do, we probably should do it that way just so we're hitting all the grading points.
Okay.
All right, Kevin?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. That's great.
All right. Here we go. So I did JavaScript objects, and we'd already learned about it before. So I was trying to figure out kind of what we were just talking about, like what's the real world example of JavaScript objects, and I couldn't find anything specific. And the more, like, when I started reading about it and learning about it, I'm like, okay, this totally makes sense. And then the more I got into it, the less sense it made. So I need to spend some more time on it. But one of the things that I thought about was, so a JavaScript object, again, just to go over it, is you have the object, just like you have a physical object, and then you have its properties. So like if you have, well, really in this example, you have a car, and you have the car make, the car model, and the car year. So the object is the car, and then the properties are everything that comes after that, and then you declare what the properties are. And so I was just kind of messing around with that a little bit, creating an object of my car 2, and my car 3, and then giving them all different make and models. And then what I tried to do, and I guess this doesn't work, and if you guys have any input on this, on how to make it work, and maybe I'm just missing something, was putting all of those variables into an array and then calling it out later, like saying, okay, we'll take all cars, and the first one is my car, and give me the make and give me the model, but when it really comes down to it, it gives me an undefined. But if I say that the output is, then it gives it to me. And my car 3 dot model, then it gives me exactly what I want. So now this is more of an interactive presentation. Do you guys have any input on if you can put objects into an array like that? In other words, do you know how to utilize this to make it usable in a real-world example?
Maybe you can try first in your second thing to do so. For example, all cars square brackets 3 dot make, and see what it shows, and see if it shows it correctly. Like instead of using your loop, you're just using one, but in the array.
So just call it right here, like that.
For example, yeah. Oh, okay.
But if I
That's
say what's all cars 0, then it gives me the variable that I'm looking for, which is my car.
That's really weird.
Okay, good. I'm glad it's not just me.
Because, yeah, I would have used it this way. and it should work. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's weird that when I got there at the end, it didn't work. So,
Maybe it's a problem with the asynchronous thing in JavaScript. Because I guess you're aware that JavaScript is fully asynchronous, and so basically when you try to do stuff, sometimes you don't get the results you expect because they are not present. They are not present yet.
okay.
Generally speaking, the way to handle these problems is by using callbacks, and it makes code pretty messy, I admit, but there's no other way to get this problem fixed.
And using callbacks?
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, you will need to create a kind of a function here. And so you will have your function creating your, you will create your object, and you will create the array in your function, and maybe then you'll be able to get what you hope you can get. It's an idea. It's just an idea out of the blue. So
Yeah. Well, that's a better idea than the ones I was coming up with. Yeah, basically just spent the last while just, again, trying to give an actual example of how it would be used and, why you would use JavaScript objects and an array over just using a database table. Depending on what you wanted your outcome to be, anyway.
well, basically, the array of JavaScript objects will be useful for us in the sense that we won't have a database.
Right. Which, yeah, we talked about at the beginning, and that changed everything for me. So if I take this out and I just say my car 2, then it totally works, and it holds all of that in there, and you can check the make, you could check the model, or the year. So all of that works, but me trying to enhance it for this presentation did not work out so well, and I unfortunately spent too much time on that than more of the basics, because we already got it. So
Yeah, that's really weird. I admit it's weird that it doesn't work.
Will you share that code so that we can play with it?
yeah,
Thanks. 'Cause, like I have a thought, but I actually have to play with it first.
let me.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing. I'm like, just if we all mess around with it, maybe one else can see what it is.
There you go. Just put it in there. So that's what I got.
Thank you.
Thank you. It looks like for next week, James has local storage, I have Ajax, and Tyler has JSON.
So I'm kind of wondering when I will be doing my third presentation because there's no more space.
Yeah. I have end up having 4. Do you want to take? You can take one of mine. You can either take Ajax or next week or JavaScript on the following week.
I already did Ajax, so I'll do the JavaScript in that case.
JavaScript. Okay, on the next week, I'll put you there. Okay. And then so we'll get those prepped. And then next week, we'll kind of discuss which topics we want to start coding and divvy up into the teams and figure out how we're going to do that as well. And I'll have some design ideas to bring back for next week that you guys can look at as well.
Okay.
Do you need any help with that?
Sorry, what?
Do you need any help with that?
I know I should be. I mean, I'll be mainly just making some little mock-ups and stuff. But I mean, if you have ideas that you think will look good, send them my way. I'm always open to feedback and input. Well, okay, I think we're set for next week, and then next week, like well, we have one more week after that of doing topics, but I mean, after next week, we really gotta start coding, so we'll be getting to work.
Cool.
Sounds good.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you. Have a good one, y'all.
Yeah.